For the past 10 months, I've been making this game that's sort of a blend between Stardew Valley and Terraria called Isle Goblin, and I've been doing it in a game engine called Unity. The game has all its core systems pretty much done and even supports multiplayer. I'm in pretty deep. I was blissfully working on it this week until I saw Unity's new pricing changes and had an existential crisis. For those of you who haven't heard, Unity's crazy new pricing plans had all sorts of issues, and the response from the community was basically nuclear. Cult of the Lamb threatened to delete their game, Terraria donated $300,000 to open source projects, countless developers swore off Unity forever. It was a huge mess. All trust for the company was gone, and there was uncertainty around whether publishers would even touch your game if you use Unity. I of course panicked and started looking into alternatives. I downloaded Godot, a free open source alternative that seems decent for 2D games. Since Unity is what I started with though, Godot felt intuitive and restricting at first. The thought of re-implementing every little system too sounded terrifying. Multiplayer, farming, livestock, NPC motion, the automatic tile loading system, dialogue, all the 25 menus, everything. It was just so overwhelming, and I felt like the past year of my life was basically completely wasted. I was stressed out, worried about the future, and was just kinda in limbo waiting for an announcement. After about a week of outrage, there was finally a murky glimmer of acceptable compromise. Unity announced that they walked back all their terrible changes. They said, "We're sorry," and made some pretty decent fixes to the policy. It's now basically a 2.5% revenue share once you make $1 million. Pretty fair, especially considering Unreal Engine's 5%. It also only applies if you use new versions of Unity, so people who made games before remain unaffected. If they announced this from the beginning, I may have grumbled a bit, but not been too upset, but the damage has kind of been done to an extent. It's hard to trust that the company won't do it again. They've shown that they're willing to make poorly thought out price changes out of nowhere and just implement them retroactively. So for now, I think I'll continue working on the project in Unity, but when it comes time to make my next game, I'll reevaluate and likely make it with other tools like Monogame or Godot. We'll see. Let me know what you think about the whole situation in the comments. I read every single one. Now before the Unity fiasco, I did manage to get some quality work done on the game, and I'd love to show you some of the new stuff. First up, I did lots of concept art for the new areas, at least the more basic ones. We've got a forest, a mushroom area, a jungle, desert, volcano, beach, frozen tundra, and underground region. I want to have lots of cool sub-biomes too, but I'm keeping it simple to start. I also added a weather system so it can finally rain. This uses Unity's particle system so I can display countless little water animations without bogging down performance. It's a little weird when they splash on a sideways surface like this, but it's kind of the best I can really do. Next up, I was drawing some of the concept art for some of the plants, and I realized I needed my grass and trees to be able to flow in the wind. Well, I didn't need it, but it seemed nice. Since all the art in the game is drawn onto these little meshes, which have these corners called vertices, I can use what's called a vertex shader to make those little vertices wiggle around before they get drawn on the screen. So you can see here they're shaking around, and then in-game it looks like this. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a start. I can also increase the wind amount so there can be windy days with extra blowing. And once that was done, I gave pollution in the game a new purpose. The actual pollutant in this game is this mysterious, powerful purple substance that the humans are mining. Previously, I just had the player gain a goo item when they cleaned it, and was going to let them harness it to gain better abilities. But the idea of them recycling the goo didn't sound that great to me, and I switched it up. Now, whenever you clean up goo, it disappears and your max HP increases. Kinda like when you find a heart container in Terraria. This way, it's as if the player's health is tied to the island itself, which I think makes a lot of sense. I like this a bit more than Terraria's system too, because if one person gathers a bunch of goo, it increases the HP for all the players equally. This way, if you play with 8 friends, you don't need to find 8 times as many heart containers. Now, if you recall from the previous video, when you try to shut down the pollution sources, you get swarmed by enemies and basically have a mini boss of sorts. So I think this provides a good incentive for the player to explore and engage with these enemy camps. Next up, I drew the art and added in some brand new NPCs. But before I jump into that, I've got a quick word from our generous sponsor for today's video, Southern New Hampshire University. So I graduated in 2020 with an electrical engineering degree, but if I could turn back the clock, I think I'd go for a game development or computer science degree instead. And if you're looking to maybe get a career in game development, SNHU may be a good option for you. They're accredited, so your degree will actually have value. They're nonprofit, so it won't cost you your entire life savings, and the degrees are online so you can stay in your mom's cozy basement because we all know rent prices are crazy high these days. Like seriously, what even is this? You also don't need to move to New Hampshire because, well, I honestly couldn't tell you where that is. They have courses covering programming, physics, graphics and interface design, basically everything you need. If you find YouTube to be a really unorganized way of learning that leads to losing interest, this may be worth looking into. I think the structure can really help keep you motivated. The courses are of course led by industry professionals, so you'll get some nice connections, which are probably the most important part. If this sounds interesting at all, there's a link in my description below, so feel free to check that out. Okay, back to the NPCs. So my first draft of NPCs I'm actually kind of embarrassed to show because they're so awful, but I'll show them to you guys for full transparency. These are the ones I made when I first started this project ages ago. The art quality is okay, but you'll notice they're basically just humans with goblin ears. I was trying to lean too hard into the Stardew vibes instead of being my own thing, which made them just look kinda dumb. Like, they're okay, but come on, what is this? I made some new ones here and they're are a bit better. I tried to give them some more goblin-y features, but I'll let you guys be the judges. I only did the first few to get started, there'll be many more to come, but I put these in the game. They basically spawn at this beacon, then once you make them a house and assign a bed, they'll live in there and you'll enable new dialogue with them. As you add more stuff around town, they'll do different activities. So if you, say, find the barkeep NPC and put a bar in his building, they can go there at 6 p.m. on Thursdays or whatever. You get the idea. I also made it so you can give them gifts. This will increase your friendship with them, but not nearly as much as if you invite them to go on a walk with you. Each NPC has specific likes and dislikes for walks, and they'll make it clear if they're not having a good time. So if they kinda hate combat, for example, but you force them to fight for you, you'll lose some friendship points. So at this point, all the NPC programming is kinda done. I just haven't implemented relationships yet. I'm saving that for later since it isn't 100% necessary for the gameplay loop. Now the next change is one of my favorites. I made the underground region, but didn't like how the shadows looked. With your light, you could kinda see far into the rocks, so ores weren't very well hidden. In something like Terraria, light travels really far in open spaces, but doesn't travel very far through solid objects. I made something similar by basically having a list where every light and light blocker is, and then sending them to the graphics card with what's called a compute shader. It looks like this. Basically just code that runs real fast on your graphics card instead of your CPU. The shader spits out a texture that looks like this, that changes every time a light moves around. If we blur it, we get a decent looking fog effect that we can overlay. It's a little bit jittery, like when you move from one spot to another, it can kinda snap on and off, but overall I think it's okay enough for this demo. I may optimize it later on. I then went ahead and added in-game text. This game won't have many cutscenes since it's kinda Minecraft and Terraria-esque with its bosses, so I'll need to drop lore and story through the environment, dialogue with NPCs, or texts and books that you find. So you can now walk up to a book and read it by clicking on it, or you can select one from your inventory and open it up. It's kind of a small addition, it didn't take long, but I think it adds a lot. I hope you're ready for Skyrim level lore dumps. I then quickly added a spear weapon, just to add some variety to the available weapons. This one attacks a bit slower than the sword, but has more reach for the more cautious players. Now next up, we've got some new livestock. Someone told me at one point that my spiders are wrong because they aren't supposed to have 3 parts. They look like ants. They should just have their little head and their little booty, no middle part. So I fixed my old spiders and added some new ones that will drop different things. I also added some boars. It seemed like a fitting choice for goblin livestock. I haven't decided exactly what they'll drop for the player, but that'll be coming soon. It's fun to watch them walk around after you assign them to their bed and trough. It really feels like my creation is coming to life when I get to see the little creatures going about their lives. Now the next change is pretty simple. Sometimes NPCs are asleep, so you can't access their shops and are unable to sell stuff. So I made a little pile where you can put your stuff in and get some currency out. Kinda like the little box in Stardew Valley if you've played that. For now, my currency is still teeth, same as it was before. It doesn't make much sense in practice for goblins to actually use teeth as currency, but I think it's kind of fun flavor, you know? Get it? Flavor. I also made it so you can place stuff on walls and tables. This way you can decorate your goblins' houses a bit more. I think it would be fun to have NPCs have preferences for furniture and stuff in their rooms, but that's a bit out of scope for now. I then made it so that water will do this cool wavy effect. It's all done with a shader, so all I have to do is draw this water texture, then it repeats it and animates the rest automatically. It's not perfect, but it's a million times faster than hand animating all these water tiles pixel by pixel, so I'll take it. And last but not least, I added locks and keys. You can pick up the occasional key and use it to open up locked chests or doors. Of course, a locked door on this wooden building is pretty pointless since you can chop through the walls, but you get the idea. Now, one thing I haven't talked about in a long time in these videos is Steam wishlists. One of the most important measurements of a game's potential success is wishlists on Steam. Steam will use this number during launch to estimate how popular your game will be and give you more views, I think. Plus, each wishlister gets an email when the game comes out, so they're more likely to buy it. They say 10 to 20,000 is the bare minimum to get noticed by Steam. I've had many other developers ask me where I'm at, so I'll share it to be transparent. I'm currently at about 15,000 as I write the script. Now keep in mind though that a good 8,000 of those are from before I restarted the game, so I don't know how useful they are. I'm aiming for a hefty 50,000 though, but we'll see if we can actually make it there. So if you're watching this video and are maybe interested in playing the game when it comes out or want to keep an eye on it, consider hitting the link below and giving it a quick wish list. It would definitely help out my launch a lot. I'm hoping to have a demo early next year, but we'll see how it goes. It's hard to estimate the timing on this thing. And with that everyone, I want to thank you all for coming. If you enjoyed the video or think the game looks promising, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make Daddy YouTube algorithm shine his blessings upon me. You can also hop in the Discord to get notified when I start playtesting if that sounds interesting too. I really like making these videos and might start doing more now that the views are picking up, so let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see from me in the future. Well, thanks again everyone, and I will see you all next time. Hello everyone, the time has come to shout out our eternally gracious patrons. I'd like to give a super special shout out to our Goblin Deity patrons for September of 2023, namely Zachary Neese, Zach Fox, Sarah, Charfil, Krakenfall, Brett Hudson, Jackson Singleton, Tarodev, aka Matthew Spencer, Bertiti, Joseph Scobby, Megan Palmer, Random4808, Slime Shisho, Sierra Kovac, Teddy Bear, Enigme, Orangaman, Snout, Username, Jaspid, and Guardian. You're all amazing and I appreciate all of the support.